As many of y'all may or may not have seen, B&T AG, the Swiss company that makes cool guns like the TP9 and APC, has recently taken legal action against their US branch, B&T USA LLC. Customers and dealers in the B&T network who have reached out to B&T AG have recently posted responses that they have gotten back from B&T AG that indicate a license agreement termination between the two companies, mainly due to payment owed to B&T AG. And honestly, as a B&T dealer myself, I saw this coming from a mile away. I had thought about making a video like this for some time, but always decided against it. But it seems things have finally boiled over so far that I may as well shed some light from our perspective as a dealer. So here are some of the things I know, the problems B&T USA directly told me they were facing, and various problems dealers have been facing with B&T over the last 2 years. Hello everyone, Flandre here. For those of you who do not know who I am, I'm usually the one filming and editing for the channel. But I also run a firearms business, and B&T products are something that we carry. Needless to say, over the last year, dealing with B&T has been fairly difficult. Just getting a response from their sales managers is like pulling teeth, let alone trying to get product. And over the last year, I've straight up had to tell customers that I don't know when a particular item is ever going to be available. And if they put in a back order, it could be a couple years before they even see their gun. And honestly, things used to be good. TP9s are popular, and B&T's estimates on when they would have product in stock was typically fairly accurate. I could put in back orders of products for customers, give them an estimate on a timeline, and B&T would invoice me, and eventually I would deliver the product ordered on time. However, starting about 1.5 years ago, things really started getting more difficult, starting with suppressors. I would put a back order in, and I would be told that they would be ready to ship within 2 or 3 months, only to hear nothing back about my order even 6 months later. But that same trend started to apply to their other product line as well. I would put in orders for TP9s, APC products, and each time I placed an order, I was told the timeline would be about 2 or 3 months. And when those expected delivery times came and went, I would ask about the orders. Customers wanted to know, where were their TP9s? Where was that APC 300 I ordered? I wouldn't get a response for weeks, and when I did, the timelines would always shift. It was always another 2 or 3 months away. I had one particular issue last year where B&T USA seemingly tried to gaslight me. I had customers who were interested in the next batch of FEG HD18s, and my shop had put in an order for a few of them when B&T opened the dealer allocations around fall of 2024. We were told to expect them in about 3 months. And 3 months rolled by, and I was then told verbally by my sales manager at SHOT Show 2025 that they were expecting to get them in within the next 2 weeks, to which I was elated, letting him know that my customers would be very happy and that I was going to go ahead and collect payment. Well, 3 weeks rolled by and we hear nothing. So I email them and I get a response another week later, but the timeline is 6 months away. I tell my sales manager that wasn't what he said at SHOT Show, and I get a response back like, oh, I meant like 2 months or something. I'll post screenshots here with the exact wording. So anyway, a few months roll by, and I follow up with them, being like, hey, where are the HD18s? And they basically tell me they have no timeline on them, and they have not heard anything from FEG. And on top of that, they had also deleted some of the suppressors we had ordered off the backorder log without telling us, which they then explained to us was due to the fact that they were streamlining their suppressor line. I believe it was around this time that B&T USA had heavily invested in some of their laser 3D printing machines to manufacture their suppressor line, and they were doing away with any suppressors they were not going to be 3D printing. Once they got those running at full capacity a few months later, some of the suppressors we had on order for like over a year finally shipped. And at the time when we ordered them, they didn't have their 3D printed line of suppressors yet. But at least we're able to get those back-ordered suppressors out to customers who had ordered them sometimes almost 2 years ago. But I do wonder if this was a move they were making around this time to try and stay in business, primarily through suppressor sales alone. But yeah, it wasn't just suppressors, it was everything. I had back-ordered their usual TP9s and APC line of products, and each time I would ask, it was another 2 or 3 months away. Due to this, I told customers that I would only order items that were currently in stock at B&T, as they would send us out emails of their current in-stock inventory. However, I shouldn't have been so naive. As the last order I placed with B&T, all the items that were supposedly in stock and ready to ship took 2 months to ship out. Over the course of those 2 months, I was sending messages every week, and every week they would go unresponded. but I kept sending them messages like some lovesick stalker trying to get back with her ex. And eventually they did finally ship out those in-stock items, and I was able to finally deliver the products my customers had ordered. This was very frustrating as a dealer, because you as a dealer had to constantly make up excuses, and the fact that B&T supposedly have product in stock and we're trying to get those out to our customers reflects badly on us when we can't deliver them in the timeline that our customers expect them to be in. This also goes for anything pre-ordered. When a customer has to wait over a year for a suppressor, like we had MP5 suppressors that we had on order for like a year and a half, and it took them a year and a half to get those MP5 SD suppressors out to our customers who had ordered them expecting them to come in within 2 or 3 months. So as a dealer, it's hard for us to have to try and explain to them that we're still waiting on B&T, and then we give them a response, and that response is never satisfactory, especially not to the customer. So as a dealer, it makes us not want to even deal with B&T products. Needless to say, as SHOT Show 2026 was drawing near, I made a point in Mugi's server that I was going to lay it down on B&T, that I was going to get everything out of them and figure out what internal issues they had going on that resulted in such horrible communication and product delays. And I did exactly that. The regional B&T sales manager told me straight up that they were facing a lot of internal issues. Primarily, he indicated that they had moved their location from Florida to Utah, and due to the move, they had a lot of staff straight up quit, which resulted in serious staffing problems. In addition to that, he specifically stated that the Trump-imposed tariffs and the Swiss to US dollar conversion rate were a disaster right now, which are causing further delays and ever-increasing prices. So that gets us caught up to today, where now it looks like we have a fast-moving 3-front control IP fight around B&T USA. A Hillsborough County case filed by Namada Enterprises, which is B&T AG, against B&T USA, and a federal case filed by Cloverleaf Holdings, who are a holdings company that owns B&T USA, essentially against Peter Penzel, and a federal trademark case that is B&T USA versus B&T AG. Now, a few things to know about this. When we look at Cloverleaf, we have to realize there are some very important stakeholders in Cloverleaf. In particular, we have Sean Sullivan, and for those who are completely out of the loop on this stuff, maybe you've heard of Larry Vickers. And if you don't know who Larry Vickers is, you've probably been living under a rock. But Larry Vickers was a very popular YouTuber. He had firearms businesses, including an SOT, and he got in a lot of trouble with Sean Sullivan over the illegal importation of machine guns around falsified and forged demo letters so that they could import fairly hard to get guns, machine guns, NFA type firearms that were in factory configuration through a company, Trident Arms, and HKI, who Trident Arms was also owned by Sullivan, and they were also involved in the importation of the HC-18s and a lot of other drama. But that's a very long, complex subject that could be its own hour-long video, honestly, and we just don't have time to talk about that. But essentially, they got busted. Sullivan also worked as a DHS intelligence analyst on top of it, but that whole thing is very much a mess, and Sean Sullivan still owns a pretty large stake in Cloverworks, who of course own about half of B&T USA. So all of this boils down to the fact that there are only really 3 primary holders of Cloverleaf, and Sullivan having 33% ownership of Cloverleaf, he had a pretty significant say on what happened over at Cloverleaf. However, one of the other stakeholders, Oschlager, sold his percent in Cloverleaf to Sullivan for $10, giving Sullivan 66% ownership in Cloverleaf, which means that Sullivan essentially has 100% voting rights in Cloverleaf. So when you mix all of that in with B&T's current problems, you can kind of see how this could get really messy and much more complex than we can even really see based on just these lawsuits alone. But on top of that, we do have B&T AG now coming out and saying to customers and to B&T dealers who are reaching out to them that they have revoked B&T USA's license to use the B&T trademark. And on top of that, they're claiming that B&T USA owes them payment. And the question is whether or not B&T USA will still be able to import B&T products, or if B&T AG are going to try and create their own branch and do their own imports. I don't know. That's pure speculation. But what we do know for a fact is that there is a dispute around the trademark, and there may be an issue of non-payment to B&T AG in Switzerland from B&T USA. That being said, as dealers, we still feel like there's a lot of pain points when it comes to dealing with B&T, and as of late, we have still been having communication issues with them. They even sent out like renewal forms like last month to B&T dealers, and we signed ours, and we haven't like gotten anything back from them in like a month after we signed the renewed B&T dealer agreement. Typically they then sign it and send it back to us, but we haven't heard anything about that. So a lot of things are like, we don't really know, communication is still bad, we still don't know about the delivery of product. It took like over a year for me to get these TP9s back in stock, and I don't know if I'll be able to get any more, honestly, because not only have they raised their prices like incredibly high, but even if I were to put orders in for them right now, I just don't know if they're going to come in the next year or two at this point. And if they're having trademark issues, I don't think B&T dealers are going to put in order for product because there's a dispute going on. Like, the only thing I can really see is their suppressor line, and I really think this is where a lot of things boil down to, is that they're really trying to focus on the suppressor line, and they want to make this their main source of income with just their 3D printed suppressors, which is why they invested so much into those 3D printing machines, because they knew that moving forward, if they want to stay in business, they had to do suppressors. B&T has been doing like white label suppressors for other companies. Like, I know the Palmetto State Armory suppressors are actually B&T printed suppressors, so they want to do more of that kind of stuff as well. I of course did reach out to B&T first because I'm like, hey, like, what's going on? Like, there's all this talk about this online, and of course they haven't responded to me. This is currently the problems that we're having with B&T, and this is why we haven't been really selling a lot of B&T products, and why we've been telling customers, hey, yeah, we might be able to get this, but I don't recommend buying them because I just don't know if they're going to come in or if B&T are just going to cancel on us, because they have done that in the past. We don't have the H18s. We don't have particular suppressors anymore because they completely canceled them, even though we had them on order. So yeah, that's my rant about B&T products. I know this isn't our usual type of content. I know Mugi isn't on this video, but I thought I would just make this video, kind of make one just that I'm doing, talk about the current state of affairs with B&T as a dealer, and just share some insights into what we're dealing with as well. So anyway, if you enjoyed this, let me know. If not, let me know as well. A few years ago, I did get hit by a car who drove off the road and smashed into me, going about 55 miles an hour. So it can be a little difficult for me to enunciate my words now, or really to speak on camera someday. So it is easier for me to just write a script and throw it to Mugi to read. So let me know if you'd rather just hear her like read my rant. So let me know if you just want me to like have her like read out these kind of videos, but if not. So anyway, I hope you all found this informative and have a good one.